You're here! Finally!
Is something wrong?
Monsieur Durvalette and Lady Farina, they seem to have gotten into a dispute! Please go see for yourself.
Like I said, I've already explained everything!
And yet the problem has not been properly solved. There is little space for excuses between us. It is not my intention to offend you, but please, tell me where you stand. You are the Hydro Archon Focalor, are you not? Look at this. This is a list of the victims from the recent Poisson incident.
You mean... they're all...
We did not arrive in time to avert this disaster, and I will not have it happen again. I will say this once more. You must tell me everything you know. Yesterday, I found 3 stone slates in some ancient ruins near Poisson. Do you know anything about those?
Seriously? You're questioning me like this is a court case now. I don't know anything about that. But you found them in some ancient ruins, you say?
That's correct, which is why I came to ask you some questions. There should have been 4 slates, but one of them was missing. The other 3 featured different images that seemed to correlate to the prophecy.
The prophecy?
The second of these slates depicts the previous Hydro Archon Egeria kneeling before a floating island in the sky, as if confessing something. Do you know nothing of this either?
I don't. I've never seen such slates.
I'll ask you again. Do you really have no information regarding the previous Archon? My deciphering of the slates indicates that the Hydro Archon Egeria once had to confess to, or apologize for, a certain sin. If anyone would know about it, it should be you.
All gods don't have the same secrets, you know. She was herself and I'm me. Is it really so strange that I know nothing? I understand your concerns, but I'm sorry. I just don't have anything to tell you.
Forgive me for saying this now, Lady Farina, but I have long known of your various secret investigations into certain matters. There are several indications that you have been investigating the prophecy on the sly. This is not strange in itself, considering that you are the Hydro Archon. But it is strange that you should also claim to not know any of Egeria's secrets, as well as do nothing following your inquiries. You have never been as superficial as you have presented yourself to be, nor are you a fool. And yet, your behavior is very inconsistent.
So you've been watching me all this time, have you? I didn't think you were that type.
You...
Well, since you know about my secret investigations, then you should know I'm actually working to take care of it. There's no point questioning or suspecting me. You're the Eudix, but you're still my subordinate. You should be following my lead. Just trust in me, you're Archon, and do as I say. Never mind whether you can truly convince yourself to or not. It'll all turn out fine. That's all I have to say. We do not discuss this matter again. Oh, the opera's about to start. Toodles!
Did Farina not notice us standing by the door? Wonder what's up with her. She was smiling.
I assume you've been outside for a while now?
Oh, you noticed. Seems Farina didn't even realize we were here.
She was in a great panic, though I cannot discern the reason. Our discussion reached impasses time and again, a state of affairs that we cannot allow to continue. Still, I do not understand. Dialogue is the basis for understanding, so why did she keep refusing to engage? Absolutely forced to. We may have to create a situation in which she will have no choice but to speak.
Oh?
Normally, people will only reveal the truth when standing trial. Perhaps...
But Farina's seen so many trials, and she's really good at dodging questions.
We will need to consider this thoroughly, join forces with various parties, and then do what we can. If at all possible, I would prefer to recuse myself from this affair, but we must prevent the prophecy from coming to pass. This may be cruel to her, but all Fontaine is in crisis. The information a god possesses is too precious. But who will lend us their aid to do such a thing?
Well, that's everyone, huh? Speaking of which, it was pretty smart of you to think of hiding here.
Poisson was just involved in a disaster, so it's presently devoid of people. That naturally makes it the best choice.
And here you are drinking tea like it's the most natural thing in the world, huh?
That's what family should do. Sit and enjoy a leisurely time together.
It's nice to enjoy tea here, you know? Care for a cup?
Lend me your ears, everyone. Or perhaps one of you might like to start us off. How about you, friend?
Me? No, I don't think I can.
Then how about you, good sir?
I fear that I will cause the mood on this boat to become as somber as it is in court.
Well then, I guess we're lucky we've got a local like me to organize things. Wonderful, the spotlight at last. I guess I'll be facilitating things from here.
That was a little long-winded, don't you think?
Oh, you might be right. Anyway, to cut to the chase, our friend here, the Traveler, has brought us together to discuss something. As for what that is, well, let's start by saying that we'll be pooling our efforts together to create a series of traps.
Oh, how intriguing.
Well, it's just an expression, really. One that I just learned from Chlorand, and used on the spot. So, let's invite her to explain in detail. A round of applause, please.
Huh? Didn't you say that you would be facilitating this?
Oh, come now. Your work doesn't involve much public speaking, right? This is a good chance to practice. You might even pick up some fancy oratory tricks to impress your boss with in the future.
I see. And what does my boss say?
He is glad that you consider him your boss. Do go on.
In that case, do any of you have experience hunting?
Not that I recall.
Fremine and I once used a wooden stick in a basket to catch wild rabbits when we were younger. As for Lynette, oh, right. You were sick that day, weren't you?
I've also gone diving to catch some fish before. Does that count?
I'm afraid not. You may or may not have heard, but Fontaine once played host to a group known as the Marechaussee Hunters. Though that was their name, they did not hunt animals, but rather various monsters left behind by the ancient dynasty of King Remus. Today, Fontaine's monster population has already thinned greatly, so the hunters have blended back into society, taking up arms in other lines of work. They even left a unique methodology of hunting in their wake. A trap comprises of the following components: bait, a trigger, and a containment device. Sometimes a lethal implement will also be necessary to deal with the prey. So, if we were to build a trap together, right now, what would you choose to build it with?
For me, I would prefer something basket-shaped. Pigeons and rabbits will see the bait and naturally enter the snare. Our line of work requires a deft hand, and we're some of the best in the industry, so you can count on our techniques.
You used some of those techniques while moving the people of Poisson, didn't you? My subordinates mentioned that you even performed some magic for the bawling children.
Yes, and I even managed to gather some intelligence in the meantime. I'm quite the multitasker if I do say so myself.
I'm afraid I can't claim that as my strong suit. I prefer more stable methods, like placing bait in the water and waiting for the fish to come within reach. That's the kind of method I would count on.
Calm and steady. Exactly the kind of person who would catch loads of fish.
And I can be their assistant.
With discretion, I'm sure.
I'd probably use some sort of mechanical animal. Papa once bought me some small clockwork squirrels, mice, and I remember that you liked those too, didn't you?
I did. And that would be a good way to go about it. If they're realistic enough, animals of the same kind will follow them all the way to the trap.
What about you, Monsieur Neuvillette?
I fear I do not have any related experience.
That makes sense. You usually solve problems directly, without the use of any such tricks. But I do have one more question for you, Monsieur. If we were to create a trap now, how would you design it?
I would like for it to be effective, but bring no harm to the prey. A more gentle trap would be ideal.
Kind, as always. However, our intention doesn't necessarily change the containment device and the type of implement we need. If we wanted to kill the prey in one strike, we would need a powerful implement. However, that also goes for prey that must be captured and safely contained.
Wait, why's that?
Only a hunter who's a true expert at subduing their prey can snare it without harming it. The line that divides life and death is often exceedingly thin.
So are we going hunting together?
Huh. We hadn't thought of seeing ourselves as hunters. It kinda works, but maybe it's still not the best metaphor.
If our means of capturing and dealing with our prey is to put them on trial, then the hunting metaphor is actually quite accurate. But we shall require much more courage than any hunter to judge a god.
Oh, so that's what's going on. Sounds very interesting.
It's been a tough few days, hasn't it? So much has been happening. Paimon didn't think the meetings would go on for so long, but everyone seemed pretty fired up, huh? Paimon thought they'd be at least a little frightened. Well, Fremine was, now that Paimon thinks about it, but everyone, well... It's hard to say. Paimon doesn't have any experience with this sort of thing. But with you around, Paimon sure will do great. After all, you're the most reliable person in the world, aren't... Did you just pour some tea? Paimon didn't notice you doing that at all. Then what's that? Paimon's never seen that cup before.
Don't be frightened. I'm just joining you two for tea. I merely refrained from... Ah,
Wait, you...
the voice from the sky, Huh. You're feeling lost now. Consider me a passerby, just accepting the prophecy. Yes, what has been
What?
I believe you have witnessed a failed attempt with your own eyes. Can everything in Tevat so easily be just as prophecies are usually only the future as seen from the perspectives of the gods, are the things that you shall see different from the fate?
What is she...
I believe that you understand, right? Ultimately, fate shall serve as your only god. This was good tea, by the way. Thank you for your
The voice. What? Hey, it's you who's...
Well, I see I've walked in on some lively band.
Mona!
Fine, just fine. Not all Fontanians are pessimistic about this. One journalist mentioned that sitting around and waiting for the end to come would be wrong, and that they should make their own rescue preparations. I agree.
Did she have pink...
Why, yes, it was Charlotte. I'm in full support of her view. Prophecies are very important.
That's right!
Ah, yes. About what we had discussed before. I did try, but I'm afraid I... Huh? Goodness gracious. Are you serious?
She said that even the god's gaze has blind spots. Pretty bold if you ask Pine.
The Hexen Circle members are certainly anything but ordinary, but I've not...
Whoa.
Their abilities alone...
Well, it's not like Paimon.
Yes, Shua, perhaps it is... Traveler,
Oh, we're...
I see. I guess you could consider me someone who has often but even so, I still hope for, and believe in, miracles. Astrology is eternal and rational, but fate may not be. It is cruel. Perhaps that's what En was trying to tell you. Not to lose heart, and to believe that what you are seeing playing out before you is not yet set in stone. I did originally think of steering clear of all this, but I couldn't.
Huh. You do have a point.
There I go. It was worth trying to come. I suppose that might...
Paimon feels kind of moved by what Mona said. Hey, Traveler. Let's walk around the city, shall we? There's a few spots we always like to walk by. Huh? Let Paimon see! The underwater stronghold, the Fortress of Meripede, has... My recent attempts to enter the fortress bore little fruit. Thus, did an Outlander friend become the focus of this report. A blonde adventurer with their white fairy, legends trailing in their wake. So while the fortress's interior remains a mystery behind closed doors, do not journalist Charlotte's biggest scoop yet. Charlotte took so many awesome photos of us. She hasn't been able to get a hold of anything at the fortress, so since we're seriously? We're here! Paimon's hungry. Hey, quick! Look! That's the limited edition only 16 slices a day cake! It was so delicious the last time we tried it!
One slice of cake, please.
Someone showed up after all. Oh, wait, you're the one from the Palais Mermonia.
Oh, are you here to buy cake too? It's...
Wait, did he really say something like that?
That's right. Even he has his own preferences when it comes to food. As for me, I love the cake and coffee here.
Do you come here often?
Usually every day.
Every day?
It's part of my daily schedule, apart from work.
Then what if someone told you one day that this place would be closing soon, and you wouldn't get to eat cake here anymore? What would you think?
But why would it close?
Well, Paimon doesn't know either, but...
Oh, the prophecy. To be honest, I haven't paid much attention to that. No, still, even if there'd be no more cake tomorrow, that wouldn't keep me from having some No, it's the same for eating in general. You might not be able to eat tomorrow, but if you can do so today, then you should carry on. That's what people...
Huh.
Don't be sad. Excuse me, could I have... These 2 slices are for you. Sijuin said that this kind of expression you're making is what humans call being sad.
Oh, you know Sijuin?
I sure do. She was born before me, and she sometimes comes to the surface to... She said that humans are creatures that are saddened easily. Yes, and you can only live there. I've got something else to do, so I'll be...
And there she goes. All right, let's dig in. Paimon... It's more delicious than last time, and the flavor gets even better. Sure would be nice if we could always eat delicious. Oh, we're near the Steambird office. Let's go look for Charlotte and have a chat.
A good newspaper should be a lighthouse of truth.
Wow! If it isn't the Traveler and Paimon!
Ha! You've got some nerve!
Oh, you needn't worry about that. I heard that you were in Poisson some time back, so I sent you a letter to discuss just that. It appears you didn't receive it, though. It's all right, though. I've set aside the amount intended for you. I've even set the table with some food.
Really? Oh,
You're almost a little...
Oh, Paimon...
Still, what
A friend of ours met...
Ah, so you know... So she mentioned me?
She said that you're a
Nice.
Huh? So you're...
Oh, of course it doesn't. That was more like...
Yeah.
Why not?
Oh.
Oh, so that's a yes? Ooh, splendid! Ooh, so much to...
Wait, Charlotte. Paimon's still got a question for you.
And what's that?
If, just for example, Fontaine were to be flooded tomorrow, what would you do today?
Huh. That's the prophecy you're talking about, isn't it? I mean, I do hear about it often, but I've never once thought that the day could be tomorrow. If you're seriously asking, then I might try and think of a way to leave Fontaine. Oh, but I'm still a journalist, first and foremost. That means I have a duty to be reporting from the scene. And secondly, I wouldn't forsake my homeland that easily. From what I've seen, most people don't know what they'd do should the worst come to pass. In truth, it might be better just to behave like normal rather than worry over such an end. So in all likelihood, I'd probably still be prepping at the office for that interview of ours. I know what you're thinking. That sounds a bit sad, but I've always believed that it's best to do what you enjoy.
Just think about it. If this nation really were to be suddenly destroyed tomorrow, but I still successfully finish an exclusive interview with a truly unique person, then the story I would wind up writing would truly be timeless. And then do you know what I'd do? Well, I'd write that story, send it for printing, and use messenger pigeons to get copies out to the various nations as soon as possible. I'm not a dreamer, nor am I a workaholic, but I do love my job, and I'd be proud of leaving such an article behind. I guess you could say that I was born to be a journalist. But anyway, that's my answer. And on that note, I'll get back to my preparations.
That's so nice. All of a sudden, Paimon actually kinda envies her. Anyway, let's go and take a look at the sea, shall we? The sea breeze and scenery can be a pretty soothing combo, huh? Paimon's been thinking. If it wasn't Fontaine, but all of Tevat that would be destroyed tomorrow, where would we go and what would we do? No, Paimon should ask, if you could choose, what would you like to do? We've always been moving to the next destination, so you mean still traveling? Huh. Wait, isn't that what we've always been doing? Feels like you'll grow mold if you stay here long enough. But it's still better than the Fortress of Mirapede, that's for sure. It's not only damp there, but salty too.
Ah, so the two of you are still here. Wonderful.
Oh, you're from the Palais Mermonia, aren't you?
Yes, I'm Isadora. Monsieur Nervillet sent me to look for you two before. I heard that afterward you went to the Fortress of Meropide. Not at all. I'm well... Yes, inside the Opera House. The Maréchaussée Phantom has declared the incident a small-scale riot.
A riot?
Well, that said, I don't personally think it was that serious. Lady Farina was watching a performance at the Opera House, and while she was resting during an intermission, some other audience members suddenly started harassing her, loudly accusing her of doing nothing about the prophecy crisis. And before she could respond, others started to join in. The crowd continued to grow, and protests against the Hydro Archon started to break out.
So people have started to put the blame on Farina. Guess they finally found an outlet for the pressure they've been under due to the prophecy.
I agree. People will naturally rely on gods, as is customary. But the moment people feel threatened, gods are also the first to be blamed.
So what happened after that? Is Farina okay?
Seeing that the situation was spiraling out of control and that further argument was pointless, she claimed that she'd gotten tired of this and left in a hurry. The Maréchaussée Phantom had their hands full maintaining order and did not catch where Lady Farina had gone. Only when things had stabilized did we realize that she had gone missing.
So, you mean she's still missing?
That's right. The Maréchaussée has dispatched many people to search for her, but we don't have any leads yet. That said, I don't think there's much to worry about. She is a god after all. Even if she were to fall into the hands of rioters, what could ordinary people do to her?
Good. Monsieur Nervillet sent me to tell you about the situation, but he didn't say anything else.
Don't worry, this is more than enough to go on. Thanks for keeping us informed.
Ah, is that so? Well, alright then. In that case, you two take care. I'll be heading back to the Palais now.
Well, sounds like we should hurry over to Poisson then. If we know Farina, she won't try to fix things in this situation. Instead, she'll look for a place to wait out the heat. And as we also know, she may be loud and dramatic, but she doesn't have a heart of stone. When Nervalet was talking to her in the Palais Mermonia, and she heard about Poisson, she couldn't hide her sadness and remorse. It would be hard for her to ignore being accused by the public today. Paimon thinks Farina's probably taken the opportunity to slip away to Poisson and try to relieve the sense of guilt that she's feeling. Huh! Well, what do you think? Paimon knows the answer, of course, but Paimon can do the analysis to back it up, too. Cool, huh? In that case, there's not a moment to lose. Poisson, here we come! Already. All that's left here are signs of devastation. Could Farina really be here? Let's try to find her as soon as possible. That's Farina, right over there. She really is here all on her own.
What was meant to happen did happen. I'm sorry. I am so... Give up, Farina. I'm sorry, but what can I even do other than to repeat meaningless apologies over and over? Who's that?
Don't worry, Farina, it's...
So, it is you, blonde traveler from another land.
Farina, you were crying just now, weren't you?
What do you mean, tear stains? Who did that uncivilized rabble think they were, disturbing my enjoyment of the arts? They even dare to tout their Archon! I must teach them a lesson. Oh, and I'm sure Nouvellette and those people from the Maréchaussée Phantom are freaking out right next to them, too. Of course not.
Hey, there she is! The Hydro Archon's over there! Quick, after her!
Farina, those people seem to be after you.
They are? They're just some... That's against the rules.
Farina just ran off! Quick, we have to catch up with... This should be the place, right? Hey, Farina! There's a good hiding spot over here. Quick, come to Paimon before the rest of them catch up to you.
What is this place?
Hurry, they're almost here.
Fine. I suppose haste is warranted. Lead the way.
Paimon's exhausted.
I'm so tired. tired. I totally thought they had caught me. No, I mean, I merely gave in to the sheer enthusiasm they displayed. You were right.
Yep, that's a good girl.
What's happening?
Yeah, quick.
It can't be.
Well, there's no need to worry too much about that. Nevertheless,
Yeah, but the people of Poisson... It's true. I've been investigating the prophecy for hundreds of years. I once had informants all over Tevat, searching for clues and feeding information back to me. I've tried all kinds of ways, too, to hold back this, but all my efforts proved to be futile in the end. We cannot make an enemy of the divine. Give up. Indeed. I've thought about fate. Is really unreasonable, isn't it? It has no heart and obeys no rules. But just now, it all became clear to me. As long as the final moment has... Don't worry. Well, that's enough for now. I got the impulse to play the stricken maiden. But honestly, considering my rank and... Don't take any of what I just said seriously. How could I...
come on! Paimon could have sworn...
Cher, that's impossible. It was fated right from the start that this... A witness. Yes, I've heard that... And if Tevat is, in its entirety, a show on a stage...
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes my opening performance. Now, without further ado, we may proceed to the trial of our god.
So this is what it is. Do not forget, however, that I am Focalor, the god of justice.
May I interpret these words? As your... In that case, you will have the opportunity to defend your honor through a duel.
You would draw your blade against a god? I see. It seems like you have made up your mind.
Paimon can't believe it. She just surrendered.
What the heck is going on?
Wow, how utterly...
Lady Farina, what...
Shh! It would seem that there has been a misunderstanding.
Looking for excuses again?
I raised my hands just now to indicate my I will admit. I'm sorry, everyone. You are not the only ones to be disappointed in me. But now, I, Farina, will use this trial to show the world the true meaning of justice! This time, I will protect you. Applaud and rejoice. One of the mark my words. This shall be one of the most exhilarating and brilliant shows ever to grace the stage of Fontaine. The trial of the Hydro Archon, Focalor, will now begin!
Woohoo! Oh, now we're making history!
Why does it feel like Farina just took over the whole thing. Like, come on! Also, even though she's still acting so—
All right, then. Who—
The court asks the prosecutor to please take the stand.
Is that so? Very well. Then— Also, please allow me to ask, as a final question before the trial begins. Just how much work did you do to force me onto this stage?
Well, we did do a lot of prep after the meeting that day.
I can go over the tasks assigned to the Spina di Rosula.
Snavia, the president—
Most of the people who participated in the disturbance this morning were my subordinates. They changed into plain clothes and came to the Opera House as regular audience members, waiting for the perfect opportunity to incite insurrection against you. The people's resentment against their Archon has been building as more and more of the prophecy is fulfilled. A spark was all we needed to turn smoldering anger into a flame. Moreover, according to our understanding and analysis of you, when something like that occurred, you would likely flee the scene and head to Poisson by yourself. So, we arranged for a second group to lie in wait.
So, you mean the ones who scoured the settlement—
And their goal was to force you to step into the giant magic box so you may—
That's right. That house was a magic box, rather than someone's residence.
As the super ultimate version of the setup that I used when I first performed it, the volume of the box was increased by a whole order of magnitude, and the distance it traversed was the entire gap between Poisson and Erenie. Was an arc. My thanks, Farina. Without your help, we could never have pulled off such an Of course, this performance was only made possible with Father's support. The House of the Hearth spent a massive amount of labor in Mora to pull this off. We had to select a location, construct the giant magic box, dig a tunnel, and open up a path through the water. It was a lot.
So, in other words, the earthquake that we—
That's right. It wasn't a sign of another disaster to come.
Then, I can guess you gathered a crowd, prepared a stage, and also that as soon as I appeared on the stage—
Yes, that is correct.
Well, Clorand, I must commend you for your courage. Only the most outstanding As for you, Traveler, I suppose you'd make sure that I didn't notice anything amiss before revealing yourself as my prosecutor once we'd arrived on— Oh? It's fine. The stage is already set, so there's no reason to disappoint the audience. Let's see this trial through to the very end.
Madam Prosecutor, please allow me to pass. This is a document that Miss Charlotte applied for and received permission to share with you during the trial.
Huh? Charlotte wanted to give us something? Oh, so she's here. Oh, let Paimon see. Oh, wait. Then that means this document. So in other words, we can refer to this anthology of evidence. Let's quickly confirm the information in it. Just think of it as a refresher, all right?
You defeated the Hydro Archon in the very first duels you took part in at the Opera House. That's one for the history books, all right. I didn't think that you'd wind up getting to the bottom of the case I'd been. This is the first time Monsieur Nervillet, a Fatui Harbinger. She's an extraordinary person. The fortress of Meripede was almost destroyed in a single day. That I didn't witness that scene personally will always be a source of— According to Monsieur Nervillet, both Child and that whale should have been in the primordial sea at that time. I nearly lost my awesome friend Navia. To be honest, that still gives me shivers. The words of someone as extraordinary as a witch can probably only be truly
The prosecution and the defense are both in position. The trial shall now begin.
Oh, come on, Nervillet. There's no need to repeat all the unimportant legalese. Just fast forward to the part where the prosecution lays out my offenses. As the defendant and the lead actress of this performance, I still haven't even been informed of my supposed guilt in all of this. Of course, it is only natural.
That's true, but my charge here is unrelated to your conduct as an... Instead, I would like to charge you as a fraud who's never been...
Wait, what was that? Lady Farina's a fraud?
Hey, I came here thinking that we were going to try the Hydro Archon for...
Charge accepted. Lady Farina, do you plead... Lady Farina.
I plead not guilty. There is no way that I, Focalor, otherwise known as Farina de Fontaine, a member of the Seven and the Regina of all waters, kindreds, peoples, and laws of Fontaine.
Yeah, even though Lady Farina can be...
Yeah, I've never questioned her identity either. Sure, Lady Farina...
I have cause to believe that common sense will prevail in this case. Many of the members of the audience have known me as the Hydro Archon ever since... See? Even the Oratrice has decided to show me its favor. Are you sure you want to commit to a charge that will never be upheld? If you wish to drop the case, I can promise you as the God of Justice that you will not have to face trial for making a false accusation.
An argument with near impossible odds, huh? You have to know.
Well, I tried to give you the chance to surrender. If I was not the Archon, then how did I...
That doesn't... First of all, you may be a member of another long-lived race, which would allow you to naturally possess an extended lifespan. And second of all, even if that wasn't the case, there could be other ways.
Who gave you that idea? Was it the knave?
A curse. I once thought it possible that the aura of an Archon might naturally resemble a type of... But in light of this claim, perhaps what I sensed was not your divinity, but a curse.
You sensed it too, huh, Neverlet?
Lady Farina. Well, it is true that it's...
Well, don't start celebrating too early now. Even if... Besides, everyone knows that the main difference between a human and a god is the possession of authority. For centuries, manifestations of my authority have... One need only to turn their eyes towards the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinal in this very opera.
You tried to reference the Oratrice, but weren't you as confused as all the rest of us when the
Didn't I make myself clear at the time?
Lady Farina, I believe a reminder of your current While the court is in session, the principles of justice and the law must come before all else. While you are an Archon, you will prove yourself unable to defend against the prosecution's charges if you continue to withhold vital...
I never thought you'd use that kind of rhetoric.
That was no trick of rhetoric, Lady Farina. I've merely reiterated the rules of the court.
So, you neither knew why Child was declared guilty, nor did you understand the structure and operations of the Oratrice. Instead of having been created by you, the manifestations of authority you mentioned have been made by the real Hydro Archon, haven't they?
The real Hydro Archon. It is true that I did not know why the Oratrice, but the Oratrice handed out that verdict unilaterally. You can't argue that just because a divine creation is flawed, that the god behind...
She's still throwing out all kinds of excuses. Seems like she's confident that we won't be...
My power as an Archon. There are many ordinary...
If that poses a concern, I'm prepared to extend my protection to the audience.
You don't need to go that far.
Aren't you the Hydro Archon? Or is it that you can't even—
Indemnitium! Yes! It's all because of Indemnitium! All Archons derive their power from the faith of the people, and I've converted the people's faith in justice. Thus did I give up all of my divine power to provide everyone with energy for their daily lives.
Isn't that?
Yeah, no matter how generous an Archon can be, how could they give up all their power?
It seems like nobody's buying Furina's
Hey, come now, everyone. Please, I'm still the same Furina you knew, right? Please.
If what the prosecutor said is true, she really has—
Did she deceive all of us?
Enough. That's enough. Tell me then, if you have no evidence of another Hydro Archon's existence, nor can you find anyone who can back up their claim to be such, then what—
Wow, she came up with yet another argument! It has been established that all Fontanians can dissolve in water.
Since you insist on claiming to be a god and not a human, then there's a method that you can—
Miss Navia, please apply to serve as a temporary attorney for the prosecution before addressing the court. Though you act in partnership with the prosecutor, you must still adhere to proper—
super sorry, Monsieur Chief Justice. Now. I've brought some seawater from Poisson. As everyone knows, a massive— including those— So, Miss Furina, if we are to believe that you are indeed the real Hydro Archon, touching the seawater would have no effect on you. All it should do is strengthen your case. But if you don't dare to touch it, then we would have basically proved the reverse. Oh, and I must remind you that after the disaster at Poisson, nobody wants to see any more people dissolve. I do hope you'll act prudently and choose the simpler path of—
Navia from the Spina di Rasula. The Spina has governed Poisson for many years. I guess there's—
If Lady Furina is indeed just a human, she's probably—
Lady Furina, this test has been unilaterally proposed by the prosecution. Has it—
Well, of course he had to tell her that. But refusing to participate is basically the same as a confession of guilt.
She's just staring at the water without saying a single word.
What's going on? Is she really planning—
Due to the inherent risk of the test, Lady Furina, you may—
What?
Hey!
I'm fine! Look at me, everyone! Will you believe me now? I really am your Archon! I'm nothing like a normal human who would fall apart as soon as they touch—
Miss Siegewien? If you're present, Miss Siegewien, please come—
Siege? Don't be nervous. It'll just take a few seconds. Let me see. That should be enough.
Please announce the results of your evaluation.
As everyone doubtlessly saw, Miss Furina was displaying symptoms of hyperventilation and flushed skin. These indicate that she was experiencing the adverse effects of exposure to primordial seawater. The extent to which she was affected is the same as other humans when exposed to primordial seawater of a similar concentration.
Thank you, Miss Siegewien. Lady Furina, you may return to the defendant's stand.
Oh, wait. What did she just say? I didn't get dissolved!
Well, considering your tendency to run from your problems, we did originally prepare a direct sample of the seawater around Poisson. However, after extensive discussion, we exchanged it for a sample that is not concentrated enough to dissolve an actual human. We don't want anyone else to lose their life to the sea.
Yeah, so out of regard safeguard for Farina's life. You secured a low-concentration sample. It's a great thing that the direct sample wasn't actually used. Farina could have...
I can't... Listen to me! Listen to me, everyone! Please don't give me such... Think about it! How can you conclusively prove that an Archon can't... Also, if I was really just a human, why would I dare to just... Please, everyone, anyone, just listen to me! I swear, I really am your Archon!
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone.
With all the things that have been said, Paimon doesn't think there's...
I believe the time for arguments and presentation of evidence has come to an end. If there are no objections, we will move on to the final judgment.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone who's too stacked against her now.
In my capacity as Chief Justice, I shall now render judgment on Farina's misrepresentation of herself as the Archon of Fontaine. As a human who knowingly deceived her fellow citizens, Farina is... guilty. We shall now turn to the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cod... According to the judgment of the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinal, Farina is...
Well, what's wrong? What's the
No. The Oratrice also displays a guilty verdict.
Isn't that correct?
However, the exact wording of the verdict is thus. The Hydro Archon, guilty to be punished via the death sentence.
That's actually one of the available sentences? I've always thought that it was just a myth.
The one and only time the death sentence has been handed out at the court, and it's been given to the...
Farina's been sentenced to death by the Oratrice? We just wanted to...
This outcome is indeed quite strange. According to Fontaine's current definitions of justice, as well as its recommendations for criminal sentences, is this sentence really appropriate for the crimes that have been committed?
Yeah! Even Vacher wasn't sentenced to death by the Oratrice. You know...
Indeed. Not only is Farina's sentence overly excessive, the very point but now, the Oratrice seems to have deliberately invoked the title of the Hydro Archon.
Excuse me, if I may interrupt. Is the trial still going?
Fremine! You finally made it!
Mm-hmm.
Is that... So the knave privately arranged for Fremine to try...
I looked everywhere and finally found it at the bottom. But has the trial already concluded?
Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Fremine. Please allow me to... Traveler, I believe that you have already seen the other existing slates.
Huh? So what do you see? What is it?
I believe I've now made sense of the Hydro Archon's crime.
Huh? Isn't the Hydro Archon just guilty of deceiving her people? So when you say Hydro Archon, do you mean...
In truth, Everything that you've encountered in Fontaine up until this point can... However, I'm uncertain as to how much sense they currently make to you.
Okay, let's try to recall the contents of the other 3 stones. The first stone slate describes what you just said. It seems to show the previous Hydro Archon using her divine power. Does that mean that Fontanians are transformed Oceanids? Oh, Paimon wasn't expecting. The second stone slate shows Celestia floating in the sky, and the Hydro Archon and her people worshipping it together. This must be the point when the Hydro Archon and the Fontanians were branded with their original sin. The third slate shows the Hydro Archon sinking into the sea, surrounded by many... That reminds... Well, the fourth slate is the prophecy the Fontanians have been talking about. We didn't believe that such a crazy disaster... That doesn't... That doesn't...
We know from the case of the serial disappearances of young women that Fontaine... And this might be the reason that Fontanians can dissolve.
That doesn't... That doesn't...
Perhaps what is about to take the true sin of the Hydro Archon that Nervilette mentioned, and the original sin cast down on the people of Fontaine by Celestia, as recorded on the stone slates.
That doesn't... That doesn't...
It's not as simple. When Navia fell into the sea, her consciousness, the stone slates, show the people gathered around the Hydro Archon in the sea.
That doesn't...
The prophecy from the stone slates found its way into society. But not many people. The fortress of Meropide was nearly flooded with primordial seawater. If we hadn't dealt with it in time...
They'll dissolve into the primordial sea but won't cease to exist. Their essence will flow in the seawater, converge, and take the form of an Oceanid. The Hydro Archon was sentenced to death in court, shocking everyone present. Navia fell into the water inside those ruins, and she nearly dissolved. She was surrounded by the people of Poisson in a court within her consciousness. The eruption of the primordial sea at the fortress of Meropide was the surest sign. The prophecy's contents can all be verified. Huh? Oh, Paimon gets it now! So that's how you can make sense of it!